got my sad little list here.
Well, welcome everyone to Three Guys, One Music. We are Jamie, Mike, and Grant, and we are Three Guys, One Music. Welcome everyone. We have a very special guest today, very important figure in the lives of these three. Before you, this gentleman's name is Kirby Smith. Kirby, welcome, sir. It's great to have you here.
Glad to be
We
here.
have really excited to have you talk about the history of how we're all intertwined, so to speak. I just want to start and say that I met Kirby when I was 11 years old. So we have known each other for 46 years.
Wow.
God, you guys are old.
I am. I look pretty good for my age, though. And very, very involved in what we're going to discuss here a little bit. But as always, I just want to say, Mike and Grant, how you guys doing?
Outstanding.
In a field.
Thanks for asking.
In a field?
In a field. In a
Outstanding
cold
field.
field. It's very cold
I
here.
get
Well,
it.
Oh, yeah.
first time it's gotten pretty cold.
That's pretty terrible weather here today. I had to drop a guitar off to have it worked on in Kansas City, and it was a horrible drive. Terrible. Well, we're going to talk about what we've been listening to, and I will go first. I've been listening to Wayne Shorter's 1966 release, Adam Apple. Bought this several months ago, if not a year ago. I really haven't spent any time listening to it. I bought that and the next record, which name escapes me, but Adam's Apple I like very much. And this would have been, I guess, during the time that he was member of Miles Davis quintet, right? Certainly Footprints was around
What year?
65, 66.
Yeah.
So it would have been in that era. And it's an excellent record. I would say that it's very, very strong. And I've been listening to Gang of Four's 1979 release, Entertainment. And I always loved the angular, as Grant likes to say, guitar sound on that record. It's very syncopated, and it's very I guess they were part of the new wave that came out of England at that time, Joe Jackson and that sort of stuff. But the Gang of Four is a very interesting record. Entertainment's definitely my favorite.
Yeah.
And I've been listening to this Canadian guy up. He's got a project called Project Gemini, and it's on the heavy side, progressive. I sent you guys a clip of that.
Oh, that's. I was
days
going to say
ago.
I've heard of that. And that's
I subbed to him. So
probably
check him
haven't
out.
heard it.
Yeah, I bought you can on Bandcamp, you can buy his releases for like $5.
Yeah.
So I just bought 3 or 4 of them, and just to kind of support them and check it out. And a lot of it I like a lot. So yeah, that's what I've been listening to. How about you guys?
That's cool.
Michael?
I've been. Let me see. I just have my list up. I know I've. For some reason, I'm not a fan. I'm not a big fan. I mean, I like them okay. 38 Special was on my rotation recently. Listen to that a bit. I'm really not familiar with them besides the hits. So
God, they had a lot of hits.
Yeah, they have had a lot of
hits.
songs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another artist I am familiar with, PJ Harvey.
Yeah.
I just decided to listen to her, and she's just amazing. I mean, I just love the songwriting. I like she performs within her limitations, and what she does with it is really impressive. So I like that a lot. Who else? That's about it besides the usual suspects. So that's what I've enjoyed this week.
Nice.
Grant, how about you, man?
New Cure album just came out a couple weeks ago, but I've been having on rotation this week. Porcupine Tree, Light Bulb Sun album. It seems to always come out when it gets cold for me. You know, like you were talking, Jamie, last week.
Drake.
Yeah. And and ever since Roy Haynes passed the other day, I've been listening to a ton of Roy Haynes, just varied all his jazz stuff he's played on. So
yeah,
that's basically it.
All right. Well, Kirby, as we discussed at the very outset of this, we've known each other a long time, and
Hmm.
Grant and Mike had kind of come in the picture at some point, which I'm not entirely clear on. But I want to say that we've known each other the longest.
Yeah.
And you saw me grow up.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
I mean, you saw
Definitely.
me from, you know, I got introduced to a lot of things.
Oh,
As a
yes.
kid, you know.
Yes, definitely.
You know, and but I always felt like the environment that I was in. I've said this quite a few times, but to think about as a young person having a record store, and this is in a strip mall, having a record store on one side of the hallway and a guitarist on the other, that it was so fortuitous for me to have so close to where I grew up, to where I lived, so I could come up there every day.
Yeah, you could walk
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, and I made it part of my daily life.
Yeah.
And you know, it just I just can't imagine. My history is so a part of that. I just can't imagine any other way.
I don't think I ever went to Jerry's without then going over to Kirby's or vice versa, you know. But it was intertwined even before I actually played guitar, because I started out as a drummer.
Yeah.
And I still went over there and looked around and like, this is cool. Maybe one day I'll get a guitar, and I eventually did. So I have my very first amp I bought from Kirby, the first guitar amp I ever owned. I still have.
Wow.
It's a little Yamaha single speaker spring reverb, and I've used that thing not recently, but all throughout the last 30 years or however long I've had that thing. I've used it, and I was like, I still got. So that's one thing I didn't consciously say I'm never going to sell it. It just happened. Like, nope, I can't sell that. That's a good little amp. And it's just a simple solid state amp, and it sounds good. And I would have had my first guitar I ever bought from him, but I traded it to another guy who actually bought his first guitar from you. And mine was a cheap Telly copy, and the guy wanted it, and he had a Westone, which is like it was meant to be. It wasn't shaped like a Strat, but it was meant to be a Strat, 2 singles and a double coil. And
we're very familiar with West.
Yeah.
And that's been a fantastic guitar. I played that guitar I still have it, but so technically I sort of still have the first guitar I ever bought from there, even though it was a trade. But that's Kirby had such a great store. He never was like a lot of music stores, or don't touch, you know, and then you get admonished, get out of my store.
Well, we were just discussing that.
Oh, were you? Yeah. Well, he never.
We had a story that I don't know if that we'll go into, but
Yes,
we were.
But never. Thankfully, never. I guess Kirby realized I was serious and careful with things. So
but we found out that is a possibility.
Yeah,
it is a possibility. But as we will discuss, Kirby was a partner in this guitar store that came to be.
Yeah.
So Kirby, I just want to say, let's just go through your history. You know, I'm hoping to learn some things. I know that I've heard you say through the years, and I've got a really good memory for things and tucking it away. But I just, you know, how did you get in? Who are the artists that got you inspired to want to play? I think I already know the answer to this, but I want to hear you say.
Well, when I was a kid, mostly I would listen. I think Jimi Hendrix and you know, Led Zeppelin. Those are the albums that I remember having as a kid. You know, first ones that I actually bought were Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin, maybe ZZ Top, Tres Hombres, kind of.
The Allman Brothers were in there, though, right?
Yeah, the Allman Brothers came a little later.
Was that right?
Yeah, a little behind on those.
Oh, okay. I remember you used to have a Dwayne Allman anthology. That was, of course, the Allman Brothers, but it was stuff that he did prior with Wilson Pickett. I guess it was truly his anthology, but it was with him fishing at a lake.
Yes.
That was on the cover. I remember you had that at the store.
Yeah.
And you would play it and turn me on. I remember you turning me on to Jeff Beck's Blow by Blow.
Yeah.
And the song Constipated Duck.
There were a lot of different things.
I got turned on to so much that I would not have been turned on to by my peers. So I've always been so grateful for that.
And then in a music store, you get introduced to things that you wouldn't have normally picked yourself, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. In life and in music. You know?
Yes,
I mean,
yeah, definitely both.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so,
Kirby, listening to all that great music at the time, were you immediately inspired to take up the guitar, or did you just one day it just clicked?
Yeah, you know, actually, all those years that I had the store and played guitar, I never ever really took it serious until all guys were all grown, and I picked up the mandolin, and I just kind of decided that to actually put in the time that it takes. You know, hey, all those years I just kind of messed with it, and you know, if you do it for 40, 50 years, you're gonna make some progress and be able to do some things, but
Yeah.
never actually put in the work to really get somewhere.
Yeah.
So it you know, there wasn't a magic time.
So during high school, did you know Jerry in high school? Were you guys
Yeah,
not friendly? I mean,
I didn't know him real well. I think I met him at a party one time.
okay. Jerry's a
And
couple of years older than you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and he had some other friend that played, and there was a little party one of my friends had, and you know, there were some jamming things going on, and Jerry showed up, and that's how we first met.
Okay. Now we're talking about Jerry Whitley, who's the partner for Kirby and Smith-Whitley Music, and he will be on sometime in the future. We're gonna have a discussion with him as well. So, for anybody wondering who Jerry is,
Yeah.
so Grandpa Smith's, was that in existence from the time you were really young?
Yeah. So what happened?
I don't know this story.
Yeah. So how Grandpa Smith's came about is I was gonna, my wife or girlfriend wife got pregnant, and so I got a job. Our family had a fabric business, so I was working in the fabric place. My dad was going to be a grandfather.
Yeah.
And he went on a trip out to Nashville and went to Ernest Tubbs' record shop. And he just got inspired that he wanted to create something, have a picking parlor and create something like that. And my grandfather had a building downtown that was vacant where his fabric business used to be. So he just decided to open a music store in there and said, hey, I'm going to have you come out of you play guitar, so I'm going to have you come out of the fabric business and go into the music business.
So this was on English?
Elman Broad, corner of Elman Broad.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
downtown High Point.
Yeah.
So I didn't know this. I always assumed that Grandpa Smith's was going on prior to you, getting out of high school.
Yeah, no, and it was.
I did not know that.
Yeah, my daughter Tabitha, he was going to make him a grandpa. So
yeah,
his first grandchild. So he said, "I'm going to be Grandpa Smith." So that's what he named it.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so
now I'm trying to remember I know that your grandfather's name started with a D, but it's not coming to me.
Yeah, my grandfather's name was Dewey.
Dewey. I met Dewey on several occasions.
Yeah. He wasn't a musician. He didn't ever play. And my dad, we used to say he wasn't a musician, but he was an entertainer. You know, he knew 4 chords, but he could deliver a song with enough enthusiasm.
He was a very charismatic guy.
Yes.
That's my memory.
He could convince you that it was good.
Hey, sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, I think about, I had met your grandfather, I met, your dad, and I met your mom many times when she came by the store. And of course, your brothers, Maston, especially Kirby's youngest brother, really kind of took me under his wing in a lot of ways and introduced me to a lot of things, And so, Maston, when you watch this, I hope you get a kick out of this. I remember all of it,
Yeah.
So,
oh boy.
So yeah, it's lots of things we won't be discussing. But
yes.
So that would have been 75, 76. I want to say Tabitha was born in 76, right?
Yes, 76.
Okay. So during that period of time, I do remember some people coming into Smith-Whitley as it came to be, talking about on Friday nights, maybe Saturday nights, or maybe during the week, just jamming. And really, it was a place that people would come and say, hey, let's let's just jam.
Yeah.
And that is, I'm so sad that I missed that, because that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, they jam in the store, and
Yeah.
there was like a warehouse building in the back, and you could actually go back in these, big open areas with nothing in there. And people could go back there and jam. And then we had some auditorium seats that we bought, and a stage and a seating area.
Oh, wow. Now,
cool.
how did you get established? Was your dad and your grandfather like, okay, we've got to have a certain amount of content. You got to have some instruments. What did you choose? I mean, at the time, was it more geared toward, bluegrass and acoustic instruments at the time?
Yeah.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. It was always primarily, bluegrass and type stuff. I would say country, but really geared towards bluegrass.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to say, I met Jimmy Arnold maybe twice. Now, he was a really important figure. I don't know if Grant and Mike know about Jimmy Arnold.
Yeah, I do.
But extremely, extremely accomplished musician, and just one of the ones that I guess was one of the most well-respected in the local community. Wouldn't you say, Kirby?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, everybody that I ever heard talk about him said he was the guy.
Yeah.
Everybody said he was the one that had all the magic, but he had some, his own personal demons.
Yeah.
But so during that period of time, so 76, 77, 78, I'm going to say that I remember coming to High Point Mall, and Grandpa Smith's was where Reader's Choice was.
Yeah.
And that would have been in 78. Am I remembering? I know the location. We've already discussed this off air. But is the timing right? Was it only about by 78, or was it 79 that I know by 79 you were at where you ended up being
on the other side
across the hall from Jerry's?
78, 79, something like that.
I'm almost certain I came up to buy picks, and I've talked about this on the Chris Clapp episode where I didn't own a guitar. I'm almost certain that was 78.
Yeah.
So within the next year, when I decided that, I found a little place for me to hang out at the mall, you guys were across the hall. And I've told this story too, which you may have seen this, but I can recall the first time you put an instrument in my hands. And I had been coming up there quite a bit, but I want to say it was a Fender Telecaster Deluxe.
Oh, wow.
That was on consignment. Or if it wasn't a Fender, it was an Ibanez copy. It was, that was during that time where they had lawsuit models that were super accurate. It could have been an Ibanez, I don't remember, but it's through a PV amp. And one of the old bluegrass guys, it probably was a person that came from the Elman Broad location, they were staying in touch with you, looked at me like, what are you doing? And I was just like, just making all kinds of feedback. And it was just,
I don't know what I'm doing.
Man, it was awesome. I just remember you showed me Dream On one time by Aerosmith.
Oh, wow.
But your interpretation of it.
Yeah.
And I guess you just realized, well, he's going to be up here all the time. Anyway, I guess I might as well figure out how to coexist with this kid, because he's going to be up here all the time, But, it was just always a lot of fun. But
now, Kirby, why did you sorry, Jamie.
No, go ahead.
Why did you move from the first location? Yeah.
My grandfather decided to sell the building. So
okay, I figured it was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that real estate was worth more than just an old picking place.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was really more interested in the fabric business than the music thing. That was just something that my dad kind of did on the side.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, when did Jerry teach at Grandpa Smith's? Is that how he did teach there? So you guys were already, sort of in partners, so to speak, or involved with each other, and saw the potential for, hey, let's do this.
Yeah. Kind of what happened is that Jerry was up there teaching, and the music store, we just didn't really have a really plan. It was just kind of random how we were doing it.
Yeah.
And they were kind of like, well, I think we're going to stop doing this or whatever. and we moved across the hall. And so Jerry was in there, and he said, "Well, I hate that." And me and him just started talking about it, and he decided that he would buy into it.
Oh, wow.
And so he bought in, and me and him became partners. So we changed the name from Grandpa's Music to Smith-Whitley Music.
I remember when this happened. I
Yeah.
remember when Grandpa Smith's name was still up on the marquee.
Yeah.
Over this, I remember this. It had to be late 80, very early 81.
Yeah.
Now, I did not know the story that you just mentioned that you guys were on the verge of just calling it a day. I never knew that. But I do remember Jerry. I don't know if I remember Jerry said that he was going to medical school, or he at least went for a brief time to figure out if that was what he's going to do. And, Jerry actually went to Philadelphia and interviewed for going to medical school in the mid 80s, mid to late 80s, and considered doing it still at that late date. He was always very serious about doing that. I do recall that, but I know he told me some stories about his experience at Duke. Or Chapel Hill 1. I might not be Duke, but it was Chapel Hill possibly. But so Jerry's a very accomplished fingerstyle guitar player, and you guys each had your own sort of list of or share of guitar students. And now when you were, let's see, you would have been 21, 22 years old, 23 when this was going on. Were you paying attention to the music that was happening at that time? Or it was just like you had a young kid? I don't know how old Wesley when he came along. Was that 79 or 80?
Yeah. He's 78, so.
Oh, he was 78. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yeah, but really what we did, we would try to teach kids and teach them songs that they liked and things they were interested in.
So, know the radio hits and stuff like that.
Yeah. So whatever, we were teaching at the time would depend on the era of, what was popular. I'd think of, just different eras, certain bands were really hot. And
you did such a great job with that. The thing that I can recall is that all the students that you had enjoyed hanging out with you.
Yeah.
You had such a gift for making these kids all feel like this was going to be a fun time for the next 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what I remember,
Well, I would hang out. I didn't even take lessons or even play the guitar, but I would just sit there and we would talk about music or talk about songs or whatever. And he was just a cool dude to hang out with.
Come and hang out. And that was it was a good place for.
It was. And I think that, before we go on, it's just I can say that emphatically, Smith-Whitley was so important for everyone that was coming of age that was interested in playing guitar or any instrument for that matter. It was a very comfortable place to come visit and hang out.
Yeah.
I never felt like it was like, oh, okay, well, it's time for me to go.
It wasn't intimidating.
It was a place to hang out and talk. And, I don't even know if you guys can appreciate how important that was and how great that was. If you even realized it at the time, you're just like, well, this is, I'm here and I'm going to just be normal and hang out. It's a business for sure. But it was always so welcoming to everybody, so it's always rang, true with me and been so important how much of an influence that store had on my life. I can't overstate it. So
the only other store I can remember at the time was down on English and Westchester, and that was a store that you did not feel comfortable in.
No.
You did not feel you felt like the FBI was going to be standing over your shoulder if you touched anything. And my mother taught piano, and she bought most of her sheet music and books for her students and stuff like that there. So I went to that music store quite a bit as well. And as Grandpa Smith's and Smith-Whitley was primarily the guitar shop, the other music store had everything, pianos. They had beautiful drum sets. I can remember looking at the Ludwig acrylic drum sets, and they had in several colors. But if you even looked like you were going to touch a drum, somebody was over there like, kid, we'll call the cops on you. But it was not a welcoming store. I mean, if you just walked in and you had, if you were going to buy it, I'm sure they would be like, oh, freaking out. But just to go in and try to be inspired, and that's a thing that your store was great with. You could go in and just hang out, listen to people talking, even if you weren't talking. And it was like I said, it wasn't intimidating. It was a place where you could say, wow, it would spark some creativity. Like, okay, this is cool. These guys are cool. Totally organic, totally a good feel good place. Whereas the other place was very antiseptic. It almost felt like a hospital for musical instruments.
Yeah.
That's the way I told my mom. I said, it's like a hospital. You can't.
But that's the way.
anything, and
That's the way music stores are in most of the country.
yeah,
There aren't that many guitar stores. There are more music stores that have a little bit of this and that. And of course, I've never had any interest in that.
yeah. The only reason I went to the other one, like I said, I tagged along with my mom, but I only went to ogle the drum sets, and just.
Well, I used to buy
around and stare
rosin
at
from
them.
there.
Yeah.
I played cello in elementary
That's
school,
right,
and that's where I went to get it. I first of all, I don't even know if you guys had that type of stuff until later. The band instrument stuff came much later, where you really started understanding the monetary value in that, I guess.
Yeah. The downfall.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What an important time of the year that was.
Yeah.
I remember these days very well, how crucial it was and how serious it was during
but I
late
enjoyed
summer.
the string instrument part a whole lot better.
Yeah.
The electric guitars.
So you guys were firmly established as Smith-Whitley by 81, let's say. And then for the next several years, you guys were trudging along and just trying to figure out how to keep growing, and I, again, being a kid, my perception and it's different. I never understood or was curious or heard about any troubles or anything. So I'm just going to assume that you guys were doing okay. But I do remember by 86 or 87, the band instrument, I have pictures from 87. I don't know if you remember when we went to the NAMM show in Chicago in the summer of 87. My first plane trip, and thank you again for, you were the financial part of that. I had a little bit of money, but you took up a big part of that. And I just can't thank you enough. You were good to me. And, but I remember taking pictures, or you took pictures. I don't recall, but the store was in great shape in 87.
Yeah.
And that would have been the band period where there was sheet music everywhere. And I'll see if I can try to find these pictures, but, there's a lot of Aria Pro 2 on the wall during that period, and West Tone, which was Electra, and these were all St. Louis music products, right?
Yeah,
that's my recollection, and they were popular. They sold well.
Yeah,
that's
they
what
sold well.
I remember.
But they would change, like it was West Tone, Electra, and then they were going to change it from West Tone to Electra West Tone.
Right.
So all the West Tones would go on sale. And then they would decide to change something else, and they would, whatever the name on that was, they would change it. So that kind of.
Well, I was just going to say that Jerry had one of these black Electras.
Yeah.
And still has it.
Yeah.
And I loved that guitar and played that guitar pretty exclusively when I was up there. And the JB that's in that guitar, I put in that thing in 1988.
Oh,
so
wow.
that pickup is still in there to the best of my knowledge. I can't imagine Jerry taking it out.
Yeah.
So that's a JB that I'd love to have back, actually. But, so yeah, I just want to share this story real quick. I was just talking about 86, 87. In the summer of 85, First of all, Kirby and I were talking earlier before we started recording that I knew how to play guitar before I ever owned a guitar because Kirby, again, in his generosity, and Jerry as well. Maston was up there during that period of time. He was in high school and he was working part-time. And Brian, who we affectionately called Orca,
Yeah.
he was up there. He
Oh
was
my
not that
God,
nice
I
to me.
just
He was
remembered
not
him.
that nice to me, but he ended up being nice to me later. I was a punk kid, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And he was a kid too, really.
he was
Just
a kid
bigger
too. He was still in high school. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had I gotta pause you.
Yeah.
Because I just super flashback the guy Brian you're talking about. I can't remember his
Yes.
last name.
Is it Howard?
Yeah. Howard.
Yes,
Brian Howard.
he and I and a guy named Eugene Woodward
Yeah.
had a little band, and we tried
Really?
real hard, like the song says.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really we would jam. We were trying to be a band, but Eugene and Brian were guitarists, and obviously I was the drummer at the time. And we would get together all the time and
I
play.
didn't know that.
Yeah, I
Wow.
I had forgotten when you said sorry, Orca, and you said
Yeah.
Brian.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. And he was a little sure of himself. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Like he was and he was a little bit older, so I guess he had more playing experience. So not in a bad way, but all kids are like that. If you've been playing a while and then somebody else new comes along, you're like, I'm better than you, kid. But I just totally forgot about that. I remember being at our house in our garage on Saturday mornings, and my dad would let us make noise until I guess a game came on or something, or he's finished mowing the lawn, and he would come in and he would yell through the door, "It's time to go them boys to go home." And I was like, well, I guess it's over, guys. Sorry. But
I can remember walking into Smith-Whitley sometime in, I don't know, 80, 81. And there was an Ibanez Cherry Sunburst. I don't think it was a lawsuit model, but it was right after the lawsuit model. It was in the interim. And somebody had traded it in, and Brian bought it from the store. And he had it on the wall. This is going to sort of segue into what story I'm going to tell in a minute. He had it on the wall, and of course I just walked in, and I'm 13, 14 years old, and he goes, "Don't touch it," because he knew I was going right toward it, because I was like, "Oh boy, that's like Ace Frehley, that's beautiful." So that was his guitar at the time, and I remember him playing Dreams, the Molly Hatchet version.
Yeah.
He played that
all the time.
That's what I remember.
Yeah.
It's funny you remember that, because I remember him playing it a lot.
And in turn, he made us, Eugene and I, play a lot of Molly Hatchet when we was,
he was into Southern rock.
Yeah.
But that was popular at the time, for sure, but that's I definitely remember him playing Dreams a lot.
Yeah.
That opening riff. Which was,
that was
it's funny. It's Buddy Miles' version of the Allman Brothers song. So if I don't know if you know that, but Buddy Miles, that version that Molly Hatchet did is almost, it's really the Buddy Miles version.
Oh, cool.
So very, very similar. But Brian's influence on me, he taught me restraint, and we have to mention another important figure in the store at the time, a gentleman named Tracy Davis. I hope Tracy watches this at some point.
Yeah.
Tracy is a great banjo player, and he was at the store, and a really important figure during that period of time. And Al Davis.
Yeah.
Al and Tracy were really no relation, I don't believe, but they were just really great friends and hung out a lot. And I'm thinking about all these things, and I'm going to share as much, but I've got to recollect this is part of my memory and my history as well. Al challenged me on how to do harmonics on the guitar. I have to credit him with, learning how to do harmonics. And I was not even 14 years, maybe 14.
Yeah.
But I totally attribute him to challenging me. It's like, you're not going to be able to do that. And he would tell me, so you can't do that. You're not going to be able to do that. And I would just say, well, I'll do it. I'm going to do it, So, but I wanted to share the story that I wish Jerry was here to hear this because he's sort of directly involved in it. But the very first guitar that I ever bought, or that I ever had, I hung onto that guitar for 5 years. And the guitar actually was a Hondo too, but it played fine. I mean, it was, I learned how to play on it. So I don't remember it being a challenge. It was fine. And I restrung it one day and put it on the wall and then left. And I don't know what I was thinking. It had like a knob missing. But when I came back, the thing was missing. I was like, where's my guitar?
Oh no.
And Jerry said, that was yours. And I was like, you sold my guitar? And Kirby, in his generosity, got me a much better guitar than that guitar ever was, which was an Electro West Tone. It was a gunmetal gray Electro West Tone that I ended up playing for, the next couple of years. And I think within a couple of years, I was working at Zion and had some better instruments, more pro level. But I never really had that much of a budget to buy a great instrument. I do recall Smith-Whitley had Gibson and Fender at certain points.
Yeah.
Early on, and Sun amps.
Those companies would kind of make a deal with you and it'd be good for a year. Then the next year they'd want you to do something else and might be something we couldn't do. So then we would.
Right.
Yeah. They want you to carry so much product and you're like, it's a lot of outlay of money.
Yeah.
In 1980, Smith-Whitley had, there was an ES335. It was at least a tobacco burst Les Paul SG. And there was a line of guitars called Firebrand.
Yeah, that was
remember
Gibson
those?
Firebrand. Yeah,
Gibson Firebrand.
Because that was the era when we did that.
Yeah.
And the Gibson rep at that time actually opened a store in High Point for a while.
Oh, really?
He left Gibson and had a retail store.
Oh, goodness. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So by the time the mid 80s roll around, I don't know if it was 86 or 87. I'm going to assume it was 86, but you guys started dealing with band instruments because you understood the value and like, hey, this is a significant amount of income that we need. So that became part of Smith-Whitley. Yeah. And it did change. I do remember it. The business part of it became more evident to me. Yeah. That was important. And it was drilled into me being that by that time I was working there. Yeah. I started working there in the fall of 85. And it was made clear to me that you need to, yes, this is a comfortable place for you to hang out and play, but we've got to sell kids. We've got during that period of time, this is serious. We've got to make sure we do this. And as much maturity that I had at the time, which probably wasn't much, I did understand it, and I wish that I would have been a little bit more mature at the time and been able to assist you guys more. But
you say that now, Jamie.
Well, with time you reflect, but so by the time the mall, I want to say that in 1990-ish, they started having some problems with management. Yeah. A gentleman named Rick, as I recall. Yeah. Tried to sell a 1959 Les Paul Jr., as I recall. That had like a gallon of lacquer on it. That's what I'm remembering. I don't know if you remember that. I remember him trying to decide what was supposedly a 59 Les Paul Jr. He was the manager, and I don't know if it was him or if it was what it was. But there was some problems, I guess, with several tenants in the mall. Yeah. Was the rent going to be raised significantly?
Yeah, they tried to do that. And there was always something going on with the tenants and the management at the mall. It was continuous.
And you guys had moved to the end of the hall by that point. Yeah. And maybe by 91, the end of the mall days. Yeah. Was maybe late 91, you guys moved to Westchester or Lexington?
Yeah.
And that started a whole nother era.
Yeah.
And that was also a great store.
That seemed like where I remember Mike coming in and paying on his layaway. I'm thinking it was at that store.
No, that was across the hall from Jerry's.
Okay, that was at that
Yeah.
one when you would come in and make those big payments.
Yep.
Here's $10.
Yeah.
My first, I wanted a bass guitar so much, and you found a left-handed bass guitar for me, and
Uh-huh.
my parents were like, "Well, let us help you," and I was like, "Nope, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to make this purchase all myself." And I had it there for how long?
It was a long time
It was
because
a long time.
6
Two-
years. Yeah.
tell
and
me
after-
$2 or $3 he'd come in. This is all he had. He'd pay it.
Yeah, every penny I had went there. And my after a while, I was like, "This is getting ridiculous." And I asked my mom, "Can you help me out now?" And they're like, "Oh, well, not right now, but we will." And someday, I don't know how long it took, but I did get that guitar.
So
Home.
that was an Aria Pro 2 bass, right?
When I first was inclined to play guitar, my parents got me a Sigma acoustic
Yeah.
from your store. I still have it.
Mhm.
That Aria Pro 2 Cardinal bass,
Yeah.
I still have it.
Oh,
Yeah.
you do?
Did you take
I-
the frets out?
It is fretless now. And I took the frets out, filled them in, sanded it down. It's actually pretty smooth and straight.
Oh, awesome.
And it amazes me too. I bought my first amplifier, a monolithic 215 cabinet, 150 watt crate amp.
Wow.
I don't have that anymore. But yeah, I still have a handful of Gibson heavy guitar picks that I bought at the High Point Mall location. So
Uh-huh.
you guys equipped me for decades.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just reminded me of something that's completely off subject from a guitar, but there was a little case that had harmonicas in it.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
And I recall, I think I'm remembering this right. There was a blower that we had at the store to demonstrate what the harmonica sound like. But there were some people that would come in and blow them.
Yeah.
And then you couldn't sell them.
Yeah. It puts out state law. Do not blow harmonicas.
Yeah, I mean, that happened.
Yeah.
More often than you would think it would.
Yeah.
So by the time you guys ended up at Westchester, you and Jerry had I think I taught at that store briefly. Brad Hallenbeck is another character that is probably going to watch this when it comes.
Yeah.
A great friend and taught at the store for a long time and is it was fully involved in the history of that location, especially.
Yes.
Was up there for years and had his own guitar store, Guitar Picks, for a while. But so would you say that I think I remember us hanging out more as by then I was an adult and we would go out. We would go to Merle Fest. We went to Merle Fest one time and we would just kind of do things occasionally. And I'd come over to your house and we played once in a while, a great while.
Yeah.
But by then, would you say that's the period that you started really getting into mandolin?
Yeah.
And started to really, that's what I'm remembering, that you started to really study the great players. And you started to really go to a different place than maybe as a guitar player. Although an appreciation of the guitar, you've always been.
Yeah.
But I can remember you playing It's Not My Cross to Bear by the Allman Brothers.
Yeah.
And that one lick that I don't know if it's Dwayne or Dickie. And I remember just the look on your face, you're like, that's some bad stuff, man. That's the jam. That's the good stuff right there, man.
Yeah.
So that's why I remember the Allman Brothers being so important to you. But I guess, like you said, it came a little later.
Yeah.
But so whenever the store kind of evolved, how many, I kind of had moved on from the area by the time your involvement with it. I don't really know this part. You and Jerry when did you guys decide to call it a day? And kind of like, did you kind of saw the writing on the wall or?
Yeah, I guess
when
to end it, it was just the internet and things that was, I mean, I could order strings from a store sometimes online cheaper than my wholesalers would sell it to me.
Mm.
And, you know, it was just really hard to sell just general things. Because you could have anything delivered, you know, online and get it cheaper. And
now this was when you were up on Main Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you moved one more time up on Main Street.
See, I never stepped in that store one time.
Yeah.
I'd left the area and I never visited it.
Yeah, but kind of what happened with the industry is, you know, the more you buy, the bigger the discounts you got.
Mm-hmm.
But if you didn't get it the maximum discount, then you couldn't compete in price. You know, if you're going to sell something to make $50, well, they paid, you know, $50 less than you, so they could sell it for your price. So it was just too hard to compete.
Now, this comes reminds me of another person, Tim Fogarty. Now, did Tim end up buying the store from you and Jerry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he kind of took it over, but you know, he kind of entered the retail too, and now he's teaching. And actually, a guy that was a longtime employee of the other store, the sterile store that y'all went to get the music and the rosin, the guy that worked there, a guy from there all those years, they ended up had his own store for a while. He's in with Tim teaching now.
Oh, was that right?
Yeah, Big John.
What's his name? Oh,
yeah, Big John.
Oh, John Flynn.
Yeah, Randy Flynn. Yeah.
Oh, Randy.
Yeah. So they're teaching together.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. I used to be really good friends with his son Todd growing up.
Yeah.
You know, we used to hang out a lot when I was real young. But now he taught at that store, like you said, where the rosin was sold.
Yeah.
What was the name of that store again?
Harris Music.
Harris Music, yes. And well, by the time you guys decided to kind of end, I do remember that your appearances at the store were becoming less frequent. When I would come up to, now not the Main Street store, but the Westchester store, you were going to the coast more and more.
Yeah.
And that's another passion of yours, is fishing.
Oh, yeah.
And that just became, as I recall, a bigger part of your life. And then you had to strike a balance.
Yeah.
And I think I remember seeing Jerry up there more often during that period of time. And I was in X-ray school during that period. So my visits were becoming less frequent. But so when you guys decided to call it a day, it's like, okay, well, do you find that you said earlier that you don't listen to music kind of like for pleasure that much. It's only when you're working on something.
But, I mean, I have stuff on, but usually I'm listening to songs I'm working on. So I'll maybe remembering lyrics or, you know, trying to get it in my head so I can, you know, play it or count the timing on it, you know, just.
How many gigs are you guys playing, or you play pretty regularly?
No. The band I'm with, we play about 1 gig a month, and I'll sit in with some guy. Yeah, somebody at a funeral. I mean, not a funeral home, a nursing.
One step before the funeral home.
That would be a good gig, man.
Yeah.
No complaints.
Yeah, no. But the audience response is kind of dim. But no, but a nursing home, I play a gig with a guy once a month if I can do that.
Well, that's fun, you know.
And for a while, me and Masson, he would come over and play with me and my wife on Thursday nights. We did that for a while, and we're probably going to start back doing that again.
I would love to visit with Maston and see him. I haven't seen him in such a long time. And, you know, I just had so much fun when we were growing up, you know, because Maston's a couple of years older than I am, but good guy.
Yeah, but most of my other brothers play too. Mark, he's going to open mic some and playing, and Devin doesn't play very much, but he's a really good singer and player when he does. But
Devin and I shared a passion for Rush. I remember we used to discuss Rush all the time when he would come up to the store. Like, this is my favorite record. Oh, this is my favorite one. So he was very inspired by what was going on at the time.
Oh yeah.
So I do know that he's a lover of music.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't know that I've ever met your brother Mark.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever met him in person.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me after all these years. But he was living in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Was he not living next to the Indigo Girls?
Yeah. One
Is
of
that
them.
what I remember?
Yeah, one of them lived across the street from him.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
Yeah.
she had moved out, but her parents did, and she'd be there sometimes.
Yeah, and that was mid '80s. Their first hit, I think, came out in '88, maybe. So I remember you telling me that. Oh yeah, Mark.
Yeah.
She lived near him, so
Yeah.
that's kind of cool history.
Oh yeah.
But well, do you guys have any other questions that you'd have for Kirby, or
what? Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
I can't think of anything.
I was just going to say, what? How do you play every day?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a weird sleep schedule as I go to bed early, and then I get up like 3 a.m, and
Gotcha.
sometime after I get good and wide awake, I'll go in and practice.
Yeah.
Something that I did all my life is I held a pick the wrong way. I didn't know that was possible, but
Oh wow.
about a year and a half ago, I changed it, and it was really, really hard. And it took about 8 or 9 months to get used to it. And
I bet so.
what inspired you to change?
going to a jam and just realizing I have no volume, and I know why, and also practicing and reaching a point where I could never progress any further. Because my technique was just keeping me from.
Yeah, you're holding the short end too, so
Yeah,
long end does make sound louder.
The way I'm holding it, the way my hand was anchored, I just couldn't. I didn't have enough flexibility to go past. Develop the speed that it requires to play with the other players. So
wow, I have a lot of respect for the fact that you'd been playing for 50 years.
Yeah, I didn't even
and
know
decide
that.
to change your technique. That's impressive.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for that.
Great.
It's hard to do. It was really hard.
I bet so. Yeah, I was telling the other guys previously, I've got stuff set up, but I just can't get the time together to play, and I'd love to just start playing again on any instrument, and I just don't. I don't make the time. I probably could make the time, but I don't have any calluses or anything. I mean, I've picked it up, and you play about 15 minutes on an acoustic without calluses, and that's about all you can do. And but I'm envious of people that play every day because
baby.
Yeah, I can't find the time to play, unfortunately, but I would love to.
Go ahead, Kirby. I'm sorry.
Usually before I have a gig, things will come up and I will get busy and can't play very much. So, I'll have a week when my fingers will start getting soft before the night when I'm gonna have to play for 3 hours. And,
oh Lord. Yeah.
Well, I sent Kirby a song by the Jayhawks. I'm going to make you love me. And my goal is that sometime in the near future, we're able to do a cover of that. And whether I'm playing electric or acoustic, I'd love to have Maston involved in it. That'd be so much fun. I think that song is simple enough that we could get through that without too much challenge. Be a lot of fun. Have Shane sing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that would sound good, I bet. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us and catching up on all these memories. I hope this was. This is a treat for me, especially
It's great to see you again, Kirby.
Yeah, great to see y'all.
I don't know where we would have gone and gotten our inspiration and our hanging outness and all that stuff that goes along with the music if you hadn't have been there. So we appreciate you.
Yeah.
Righty.
Well, I hope that anybody that ends up watching this gets a kick out of it and all these, reminiscing, ruminating, and all that good stuff. But thanks everybody.
If you have a Kirby memory, put it down in the comments.
Yes, absolutely.
As long as it's
thanks
clean.
Everybody.
All right.
Well, thanks everybody for checking in. Please like and subscribe. We always appreciate it. And as Mike said, we really would appreciate any comments for anybody that has any memories that I haven't thought about, and we just hopefully you remember my involvement in this store, during all those years as well. But thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next week.
All right. Be well.
Yeah.